If you have a comment or question regarding Channel 6 programming, call us at 818-548-4013.
see your smile, hear your hello, how you can only stay a while. Hey, I know that it's hard for you to say the things we both know are true. Well, tell me, how can I forget it when I'm not in love anymore? We're not in love anymore. Things will never be the same again. I keep forgetting how you made that so clear. How you made that so clear. Every time I hear how you don't want to live a life, how it's gone too far, and you don't have to tell me why you're gone and the game is through. If this is what's real, if this is what's true, well, tell me, how can I forget it when I'm not in love? We're not in love anymore. Forgetting things will never be the same again. How you made that so clear. We're not in love. Don't say, don't say. I know you're not mine anymore, anywhere, anytime. But tell me, how can I? And I keep forgetting. We're not in love anymore. We're not in love. I keep forgetting things will never be the same again. I keep forgetting how you made that so clear. Keep forgetting we're not in love. I keep forgetting we're not in love. We're not in love anymore. I keep forgetting things will never be the same again. Keep forgetting how you made that so clear. Keep forgetting we're not in love. Keep forgetting we're not in love anymore.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the December 6, 2011 meeting of the Glendale City Council. Can we have a roll call, please?
Council members Manukian.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Mayor Friedman.
Here. Tonight's flag salute will be led by Councilmember Manukian.
Please join me in the salute to our nation's flag. Ready? Begin.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for this evening's invocation. As we approach the holiday season, may the spirit of goodwill, love, sacrifice, and giving fill our hearts. Let us also take a moment to reflect on the anniversary of that infamous day in December when our nation was deliberately attacked at Pearl Harbor on Oahu Island in Hawaii. Let us never forget the sacrifice of those who fought for peace in the Pacific and in Europe in the Second World War. And let us remember their sacrifice by praying for peace around the world and at home today. May this council deliberate with wisdom in their decision-making this evening. May they work in harmony and respect for one another so that we may benefit from their decisions and live and work and learn in our neighborhoods for many years to come. Amen.
Thank you. Can we hear your report, please?
The agenda for the December 6, 2011 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on Thursday, December 1st, 2011 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. Next item.
Under presentation and appointments at 3A is agenda preview for the meetings of December 13th, 2011.
Good evening, Mayor Friedman, members of the City Council. Next week there will be no Housing Authority or Redevelopment Agency meetings. There will be a City Council meeting in the evening, and bear with me, it is a rather long agenda. Under presentations and appointments at 3B is a presentation of a traffic award to Police Chief Rhonda Pompa and the Department of Traffic and Transportation by the CHP. Under consent items, at 5B is the Director of Human Resources regarding Civil Service Annual Activity Report for fiscal year 2010-2011. At 5C is the Fire Chief regarding security and surveillance system for Verdugo Fire Communications. 5D is the Director of Information Services, Libraries, and Community Services and Parks regarding fiber optic communication system for Maple Park and library connections at Adams Square. At 5E is the Director of Public Works regarding 2011 storm drain construction and replacement project, spec number 3406. And at 5F is the Director of Public Works regarding destruction of certain public works, engineering record documents, and project files. 5G is the Director of Public Works regarding approval of final map tract number 69542 for a 14-unit new condominium subdivision at 601 to 607 North Isabel Street. 5H is the General Manager of GWP regarding a study using subject matter experts to identify the optimal configuration for repowering the Grayson Power Plant. At 5I is the Director of Administrative Services, Finance, regarding development impact fee revenue collected pursuant to ordinance number 5575 and expenditures by capital improvements for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2011. 5J is the Director of Public Works regarding execution of an MOU with MTA for Measure R funds for the traffic signal portion of the Verdugo Road Rehabilitation Project. At K is the Director of Community Development regarding project addressing system for the proposed Legendary Tower Glendale Development Project. 5L is the Fire Chief regarding Heritage Grant Fireman's Fund donation award of $20,000. And at 5M is the Chief of Police regarding State of the California Office of Traffic Safety Grant Program for pedestrian education, speed, and distracted driving enforcement. Moving on to adoption of ordinances, at 7A is ordinance amending sections of Title 12 and Title 30 and adding sections to Title 30 of the Glendale Municipal Code relating to pedestrians and creative signs. 7B is ordinance relating to the repeal of South Brand Boulevard specific plan and amendments to Title 5 and Title 30 of the Glendale Municipal Code. And at 7C is ordinance relating to zone changes in the South Brand Boulevard specific plan area. Finally, under action items, at 8A is the Director of Human Resources regarding classification and compensation resolution for employees of the City of Glendale, establishing an entry-level salary step for City Manager. 8B is the Director of Administrative Services regarding comprehensive annual financial report of the City of Glendale for June 30th, 2011. 8C is the Director of Public Works regarding proposal to conduct a road diet test case on La Crescenta Avenue between Verdugo Road and Montrose Avenue. At 8D is the Fire Chief and Director of Information Services regarding recommendations for acquisition of field inspection software, hardware, and services for the City Services Interface Permit System for fire company inspections. And at 8E is the City Attorney regarding ordinance adjusting City Council salaries. There was one additional item on this particular agenda that was moved to January 18th. That was the status update on the GWP Smart Grid. The reason for the move was to wait for the PUC to come up with their decision on the opt-out noticing, which is expected on January 13th.
Thank you very much. Now, under appointments, I have a nomination. It's not an agendized item, but I would like to nominate for second term Armini Perrion as the City of Glendale's representative on the Greater Los Angeles County Vector Control District Board. And that'll come back next week. Ms. Veers?
Madam Mayor, some housekeeping for this evening. We'd like to request council to move item 9A under hearings, General Manager of GWP, Public Auction of City-Owned Property, right prior to action items, as well as under action items, if you'd be willing to please move item 8E, which is the discussion of the Adams Square Merchants Association, to beginning of action items.
Okay. That's fine, by unanimous consent. Okay, next item.
3B is presentation to the 2011 Rosie Award recipients.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Friedman, council members. My name is Lizette Mullins, Community Relations with Management Services, and it's my honor and pleasure to introduce the 2011 Rosie Award for this year. But before I do that, I'd like to introduce the committee. Larry Ballesteros with GPOA. He can please come up front. Dave Cole with GMA. Craig Hinckley, GCA. And Jeff Brooks with GFFA. And as they're coming up, I'll go ahead and make an introduction. Hello. The committee received 8 applications. After great consideration, the following employees were chosen as the Rosie Award winners. And I'll read their name in a few seconds. Each one of the winners will receive Rosie Award plaque, a monetary award for each employee from each employee association. At this time, I would like to give you a background on the Rosie Award itself and how we began to implement it. The Rosie Award is presented annually to honor Rosie Flores Gertzwowski, an amazing city employee who devoted her whole life serving others in caring and loving manner. Rosie personified the ideals of customer service and human relations. She consistently took the extra step to complete the projects and assist residents, always maintaining empathy and compassion for the reasons why we are recognizing Rosie. Rosie completed her work assignments in the most professional manners possible while always treating fellow employees and the residents of Glendale with the utmost respect and kindness and a great sense of humor. Her legacy by honoring, we're actually remembering her and her legacy by honoring the employees who exemplify the exceedingly high level of customer service and provided to the residents and the fellow employees. The Rosie Award is the highest recognition that can be given to any city employee for a consistent, outstanding record of professional customer service and compassion, human relations. The Rosie Award will be presented to the following city employees, and I'd like to invite the 3 city employees: Mary Alice Wellham, Lucine Yaron, lastly, Ron Gear. I know that most of everybody walked in tonight. The first thing they looked at me says, "What's going on?" And this just to show you the outstanding support that we have from the organization and also community to come and congratulate our employees. Right now, I'd like Mary to step forward because I'm going to just tell you a little bit about Mary and why she received the award she received. First of all, Mary works at Central Library. She's been with the city for 35 years, long time. Mary's customer service skills are exemplary. She meets and greets the library patrons as they enter the library and speaks with diplomacy to the patrons. She always offers to go the extra mile to help patrons. Mary has sincere concern and empathy for citizens' well-being. Her co-workers stated that she has seen her leave a box of cookies to a homeless individual without his knowledge. She recalls how he looked around and happily wondered who had left him the cookies. Mary has always been a leader and role model in providing services above and beyond what's required by the city. For all the outstanding customer service that you have provided for the city, the association will present you with your plaque, and congratulations. Thank you. Mary.
Thank you very much to everyone. And you know, I don't know one of my co-honorees, but I do know Lucine. And I worked with Lucine's mom, Seda, for many years. And I want to mention Lucine and Georgia Copian and my parents, Jim and Gertrude Wallum. Before there was the phrase customer service, there were parents that were teaching their kids that, you know, it's a wonderful thing to be kind to people and always take time to people. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to my folks also. Thank you very much.
Okay. Moving on to Lucine. She's the office service supervisor in the chief's office in the police department. Lucine has been with the city for 17 years. Lucine fields the number of calls made to the office of chief of police by citizens seeking assistance. She goes over and beyond to ensure they get the help they need and give them the sense of ease in contacting the police department with her warm personality and bring comfort to disheartened callers. I can understand how difficult your job is. She has devoted her time to our community as an active member of many organizations, such as the San Gabriel Valley Police Chief of Assistance, the Armenian National Peace Officers Association, the Humanitmen Ararat chapter of Glendale, Armenian American Chamber of Commerce, a board member of Glendale Healthy Kids, ARC Family Center, and many more. Lucine's involvement exhibits her continual desire of community involvement regardless of her busy schedule. Throughout the years, Lucine has established herself as a professional with caring, trustworthy, and compassionate person. Congratulations, Lucine.
Would she like to say something?
You don't want to say anything?
I'm trying to sneak away.
Kick me out. No, you're not.
I just wanted to thank everyone, and it's really an honor and a privilege to receive this prestigious award along with my the other prestigious recipients. And I wanted to thank all those who supported me throughout the years. I think all city employees deserve this award because we really truly do this from our heart. And I wanted to thank the chief and command staff and my family and friends and colleagues for supporting me tonight. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to Ron Gear with Glendale Water and Power. Ron has been with the city for 21 years. His co-workers stated that Ron is enthusiastic, motivated, and loyal employee. He's very respectful to others and their differences. He always makes it a point to get along with everyone and has great team attitude. Ron consistently goes out of his way to ensure that customers are taken care of. During the recent schedule outage required for a system upgrade, Ron made initial contact with customers and also left a personal cell phone number for residents to call him directly if they needed help. He's always there to calm unhappy customers. Ron even went over and beyond call of duty by providing a resident his own generator so the 50th birthday party planned can go on without any interruptions. Ron is always ready to provide the help needed to the residents of our community. And for that, I would introduce Ron to come up front and
Well, I'm not very good at this, so I'll do my best. I'm thankful that my family was able to join me today. My mom and her husband drove 2 hours to come down here, which is quite the treat. The city of Glendale has done a lot for me and my family. In fact, we've never been without the city of Glendale. My dad spent 42 years in the water department, so as a little kid, I remember watching him go to work, so I figured I'd better do the same thing because it looked pretty cool. But the main thing is my wife has been very patient. She gets the same phone calls I do in the middle of the night for us to go out and work, and takes a lot of patience from her, and she's definitely backs me 100%. My son has just recently completed climbing school with the Verdugo Power Academy, so we'll see what that happens. Hopefully the future's bright for him too. And I couldn't do it, actually. I'll take part of the credit, but the credit goes a lot to the guys that are back there in the back. They deal with the customers the same thing I do, and are as dedicated as I am. So they deserve a lot of credit as far as the customers and the reliability as far as that go. And thank you. It's an honor.
And I have to just say on a personal note, when I saw Ron's name as one of the applications that was submitted, it brought memories because I worked with his dad before he retired 12 years ago in GWP. So seeing Ron today was really very special for him to be here supporting his son 12 years later and him getting an award, so it's wonderful. This concludes my presentation, and just to leave everybody with a note that this is a very special award, and we do this once a year for all city employees, so my encouragement goes out to the employees to submit the applications, to go outside their comfort zone and to submit. They know about another employee and submit their application, because this is a very special award, and as you can see, there's great support from the employees here to recognize the outstanding work.
Suzette, could you please tell listening public the Rosie Award, who it's named after?
Oh,
Or did you say that?
yeah, I did earlier, but it's Rosie Florence. She used to work in the city manager's office many years ago, about 20-some years ago, and she passed away of a disease. And as I said earlier, she was outstanding in customer service and compassion for the public.
Sorry, I missed the first
That's
time.
okay.
Okay. Let me add my congratulations to the awardees. This is a very special and prestigious award, and what makes it so special is that you're nominated by your peers, people who work with you every day. And we have a city of overachievers with our city employees, and we have people that are very dedicated. And you getting this award shows that out of all of those, you're even more of an overachiever and even more deserving and more dedicated. So I want to just add my congratulations and my thanks on behalf of the people of the city of Glendale, who you have so served so well over the years. So thank you so much. Mr. Mankin?
I also want to join in and congratulate all of you. I think community service is the highest calling that you can have in any community, and you have certainly demonstrated it in an exemplary manner and I want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate the associations as well. I think going out and recognizing individuals who are doing excellent work in the community sets an example for all the communities and all the employees, and that is what I'd like to achieve as well when it comes to customer service and helping the community cope with the things that they cope with on a daily basis. So congratulations and thank you so much for the work that you do. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Weaver?
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate you all, too. I'd like to congratulate all of the workforce. I was going to say it under council comments, but what we just went through the last week with the winds, and we have full power in this city. We're the first ones up again. Amazing what all of you did during that time, working overtime, whatever to get us back on. I could just leave with this one note. I went out to dinner at a restaurant last Thursday and it was jammed. I tried to figure out why. It was the people from Eagle Rock that come to Glendale to eat because they didn't have power. The next morning I went to a place in Montrose to eat. Jammed in the morning. They had come from La Cañada, wherever, because they didn't have power. So we got a great, great workforce, and all of you contributed in some way. And this year, it's your turn to be recognized for what you did. Thank you all.
I wanted to, also congratulate the recipients and their families, as they mentioned, especially the water and power individual that gets called up in the middle of the night on a regular basis, I'm sure. But in addition to these three individuals, there were many nominees, and I'm sure it was a very difficult decision to come up with just three. So congratulations to all of you, and continue to do a good job in totally different departments, water and power, library, and police. I think that gives us an idea of how multifaceted our workforce is.
And I, too, would like to give my heartfelt congratulations to the award winners. I know that this award was given by the members of the Academy, the members of the employee associations, and appreciated by all your peers. But as you hear this evening, we deeply appreciate all your work. And for those who didn't make it, the competition begins today, I guess, for next year's Rosie Award. And keep at it. We'd love to honor everyone who provides excellent customer service. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Next item, please.
I think we better take a 1-minute break.
We'll just ask, as you exit, to try to hold your comments until you leave the chamber. Thank you. Okay, Artie?
Next item is City Council and staff comments.
Well, I already said it. Thanks to these people, make our city look pretty good out there. Anybody isn't doing anything on the Saturdays, you can come up and work on the Rose Float. We had over 110 people the first day, so we're already doing good. We can use more people the whole way through to the 1st of January. Thank you.
Mr. Minikin.
I wasn't going to do this, but I think I have to. I'd like to wish my daughter a happy birthday. She's hitting the big 1-8, so
18?
I have to register her for voting. That's the first thing that comes to mind. So I want to congratulate her and wish her all the best, and I love her. Bye. Thanks.
Mr. Najarian.
Last Wednesday,
Excuse me. I am going to ask that you not speak in the chamber. Please wait until you hold your comments until you exit the room. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Najarian.
thank you. I know there's a lot of excitement with the Rosie Award winners and their families. But last Wednesday, Mayor, as you know, both you and Councilman Weaver and myself had the pleasure of helping dedicate the Glendale Transportation Center in the memory of our former mayor and council member Larry Zarian. There were many, many different dignitaries that came out to praise Larry Zarian's life and his work in transportation. The county supervisors, state assembly, from Adam Schiff's office, from the California Transportation Commission, MTA, Metrolink, and it was really fitting. So the train station really is quite a, if If you haven't been there lately, you should go down and take a look at it. It's a very nicely restored historic building that was built in the 20s and is a great place to catch a train and to move on either down towards Union Station or up the coast. And speaking of the train station, we are hosting the Holiday Toy Express at the train station on Sunday, December 11th at 5:45 p.m. There will be a brightly decorated Christmas train, holiday train that will pull into Glendale Station. There will be visits, appearances by Santa Claus, the elves, Rudolph, the magical snowmen, music, singing and dancing. We do ask that you bring a unwrapped toy to help the Spark of Love toy drive that our firefighters are also sponsoring as well. So it's a great event. That's Sunday at 5:45 at the Glendale train station.
Thank you. Mr. Quintero?
The Zarian Transportation Center.
Well, I think I can speak for all of us when I say we had a wonderful time at the Montrose Parade, annual Christmas parade. I'm always just astounded. It was cold. Not that windy, but it was cold, and yet the streets were just packed. Little kids, older people, you name it. Just a wonderful event. And just to remind everyone that you should go up to Montrose and shop along with Adams Square and Kenneth Village. There's plenty of local merchants in their stores selling wonderful products. Don't feel obligated to go to any of the big boxes here in Glendale. There's plenty of shopping in our local neighborhoods.
Thank you. And I just wanted to mention a few events that I attended, along with the ones that were mentioned. Yesterday, it was my honor to be the installing officer for the new officers for the Glendale Association of Realtors. They had a wonderful holiday event, and I want to congratulate all of the new officers and all of the previous officers and their new president, Shannon Sestouli. They work very hard, and not only for each other and their association, but for the betterment of the greater Glendale community. So congratulations to them. And today I attended the luncheon, the holiday luncheon for Glendale Beautiful. This is one of our wonderful organizations that sponsors Arbor Day, which is the tree planting we do around the city, as well as supporting Casa Adobe, which is one of our historic structures, and keeping that building up to date and open for the public. So congratulations to them. And I have a question for staff. I am curious as to what our plan is for replacing any of our down street trees, and whether we're going to be planting, whether we've learned any lessons about which trees failed and which trees survived. There was an editorial in the LA Times about how certain of the trees, like ficus and some of the eucalyptus and the pine trees, don't do very well in windstorms, don't have deep roots. And I'm hoping that we're looking at that and making plans for planting trees that are more suitable for our climate and for our region, and that will be hardier and more indestructive. So, Ms. Beers, do you have any update for us on the wind situation?
Sure. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, as Mr. Zern answers some of your questions regarding our trees and what happened with the windstorms last week, I'd like to also ask Mr. Steiger to come on up to the podium to give you an update of the actual windstorms and the outages. But we'll go to Mr. Zern first.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, we experienced quite a bit of damage as a result of the Wednesday night windstorms, more than I've ever experienced in my career. We lost about 240 trees, another 250 major limb failures. So these are immediate removals, and I will tell you the ferociousness of the wind and how they damage these trees is not like anything I've seen. Certainly, Madam Mayor, larger trees, pine trees took a beating, but I can tell you that we had a lot of species. Elms, jacarandas, a number of trees. We had a huge ficus in the Civic Center parking lot, if anybody saw that. Fortunately, we've been culling ficus out of our forest for the last several years just because of the destructive nature of the trees, the fact that they're growing into buildings and things like that. So we didn't have as many ficus issues as maybe some communities, because that was a popular tree for many of us cities when we were getting our start. But we definitely plan to reforest those trees that we lost. It's not something we can do overnight and within a year, but over the next couple of years, we are going to put back those trees. We have a new tree palette that we developed within the last 5 years that is more conducive to our locale, both from a weather standpoint, from a water conservation and consumption standpoint, and from a wind resistance standpoint. So yes, we'll be putting a lot of trees back, all of the trees hopefully, and then some, and with species that we hoped will survive better in these situations. Although I will tell you, it was bad. We have a lot of debris out there. We're about 50% picked up with just the loose debris that's in the street and that's being brought out by the private homeowners. We're about 30% of what we call our aerial work. This is going back in the trees that survived, trimming those and repairing those so that they'll remain healthy. And give you an idea, because also our neighbors were hit very severely. Lines at the landfill are an hour to an hour and a half just to get to the scale house. For give you a point of reference, it usually takes us an hour to get to the landfill, dump, and get back to work. So it's taking us an hour and a half just to get to the scale house. That is the amount of activity that we're seeing at the landfill. Of course, Pasadena is part of our wayshed, as is Sierra Madre, so they've had a lot of damage. But it'll be a few more days. I'd say a couple more weeks till we get on top of this. But the crews have been great. The residents have been fantastic, and we'll get it done.
Let me just use the opportunity for a little plug, since I just mentioned Glendale Beautiful. Every Arbor Day, they accept donations and will plant a tree in anybody's honor that you wish. So for a donation, they'll plant a city tree for a loved one of yours, or a husband or a wife. It makes a great gift, and it's a way that if you want to help reforest Glendale, it's a way that you can do so. Mr. Steiger.
Thank you, Mayor Friedman. I'd like to continue this discussion with a brief summary of what we at GWP experienced. This was the most significant storm we've seen in terms of damage to our system. And to give you a sense, we had, out of our 111 feeders, and feeders are the main circuits throughout the city, at one time we had 38 full feeders out of service. All customers affected were a little over 30,000. At any given time, we had approximately 10,000 customers out. But overall, if we count the number of customers that were out of power either once or twice and so on, there were over 30,000 customers. The outage event began 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday evening, and we got our final customer back in service 5:30 p.m. on Saturday. And I'm very, very proud of our field forces for being able to do that. Restoration time was about 560 minutes to the last customer out. Now, what that means is any customer associated with the full feeder outages experienced that type of outage. Clearly, there were some customers that went out on Wednesday and were not restored till Saturday. There were a few of those. Just to give you a sense of the areas that were affected, most of Glendale was affected in one way or the other, but the most significant outage events occurred in the mountain and canyon areas, and this shows those areas. We had 12 broken poles. We had numerous broken cross arms. I'll show you a couple pictures of that just to give you a sense. We had damaged lines and service cable by falling trees and branches. And of course, that was the biggest single reason for the outages. And wires contacting each other. In the wind, the phases tend to swing into each other and slap together, and that creates outages too. Just to give you a sense of the kind of damage we saw, there's a downed pole, broken cross arm. You can see some damage if you look at the service wire, a split over there, and that's one of our guys hanging off of the pole. More broken cross arms and tree damage. Broken cross arm there. There's a pole that fell over and was a service pole. It fortunately did not create damage to the home, but did create a significant number of service outages in that area. Those are individual service entrances on a residential unit, and you can see both of them are down. We go help to at least temporarily get those back up while the customer can get an electrician to come out and permanently affix it. Again, you can if you look real hard, you'll see our poles buried in the tree with the conductor going in. If you look to the left, that burst of light is conductors slapping together. Now, that's the kind of thing you see when you're out there. There's a split pole at the bottom. More poles taken down by trees. Again, broken cross arm. Another broken cross arm. You can just barely see the pole in there. If you look real hard, you'll see the transformer up on the top. Again, our crews clearing trees off of downed poles. And so that just gives you a sense of the kind of damage that we saw when we went out there. Overhead, we had 3 crews, 22 GWP men. Underground, we had 4 crews with 17 of our men. Substation crews, 7. Metering and testing, we had 6 men. Service trucks, we had 2 trucks and 10 men. Total, we had 62 GWP crews out working round the clock. We also, in order to accelerate service restoration, brought in trucks and crews from outside contractors and also from our neighbors in Burbank. We were very fortunate that Burbank could loan us some of their crews. Outages occurred due to a very strong wind and trees falling across our lines and poles, and our crews worked 18-hour shifts, and we tried to rotate them so there were generally always crews out making the system safe. But we made sure that our crews got rest periods in between those 18-hour shifts. So that's a very, very quick overview of what we saw. We still have a lot of what's known as cleanup work, so we're not out of the woods yet, figuratively, but all of our customers are back in service.
Thank you. And Mr. Zern, isn't there a place where residents can get extra bins if they need bins for the city?
Well, Madam Mayor, members of the council, what we have done is we've set up drop-off locations at various parks throughout the city and on our integrated waste yard, where folks can bring their green waste, and we can they can go ahead and for free put their waste there. Also, we are collecting extra green waste. So if you fill all of your containers with green waste, we'll pick them all up. And so if you've got extra containers that you're putting out, we're going to pick up all that we can, and we also have rear loader crews going through neighborhoods picking up palm fronds and piles of debris that residents are bringing out and putting at the street level too. So any of those combinations of things, we will get it. We will get it picked up.
So if residents want information about those drop-off sites, they can get them from your website?
They are on the city's main website along with the Public Works website, yes. So either way they can see those.
Well, I want to thank the city for, number one, having the updates on the front page of the website. I think that was very helpful for residents. And I especially want to thank all of the employees who worked so hard during this crisis. Everyone, but particularly Public Works, GWP, and Fire, and Police. And am I forgetting any department who was affected? Parks, of course, Parks. Thanks to all of you. I was really surprised at how quickly we were getting cleaned up compared to our neighboring cities, and how quickly our power was restored, also compared to our neighboring cities. So I was very happy to see that. Thank you. Okay, next item, please.
Next item is consent items. The following are routine and may be acted upon by one motion. A member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such a request before a motion is proposed.
I have a request to pull 5C, as in cat.
Madam Mayor, we have to take 5A off consent to note one change to it as well.
Okay. Are we going to discuss it tonight?
Yeah,
okay. So 5A will also be taken off consent.
I'll move the remainder of the consent calendar.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members: Manukian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Quintero? Yes. Weaver?
Aye.
Mayor Friedman?
Yes. Can we hear 5A, please?
5A is Director of Community Development regarding amendment and restated covenant agreements for the properties located at 142 through 156 South Brand Boulevard and 145 South Maryland Avenue. A1 is a resolution approving the amended and restated covenant agreements.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. After the publication of this item, there were some additional changes that staff had to work out with the party to this agreement. There's two changes, one to Section 2D, which will say nothing in this covenant agreement shall be deemed to require the agency or the city to expand the marketplace garage to meet the needs of the owner or provide parking for any of the customers or tenants of the property. That's the first change. And the second change is just amending the schedule of prohibited uses on the attachment. So with those two changes, the item can be moved if the council so desires.
Thank you. Do you have a motion for that item?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Council members Menuchyan,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Friedman.
Yes. Can you please read 5C into the record?
5C is General Manager of Glendale Water and Power and Director of Information Services regarding renewal of maintenance agreement for energy trading software used by GWP. C1 is motion authorizing 2-year renewal to the annual license and maintenance agreement with Ventex Energy LLC in an amount of $67,709 for the first year and an amount not to exceed $71,100 for the second year.
Thank you. Since I have a card on this item, why don't I let the member of the public speak, and if there's any questions or issues, I'll ask you to come back, Mr. Linz. I have one card, Herbert Milano.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, and City staff, my name is Herbert Milano. I would like to encourage the City Council that whenever there are contract renewals for purchases of assets or investments that the city must make on critical items, that the City Council should ask for a performance evaluation of how those assets are used. In the case of this energy trading software, I have some questions for you. Because the concept of energy trading, the buying and selling of energy to the grid, I believe should have some type of outcome. Are we selling more effectively and buying more effectively than nearby utilities? If so, how do you know? Are we better off than any other cities that are using similar software, and how more effectively is it? You see, the city of Glendale belongs to the Southern California Power Authority, and there are commonalities in there, and I was wondering perhaps if the city is not able to effectively use this software vis-a-vis other competitors within the region, whether they should perhaps not be better suited to maybe do it through the Southern California Power Authority. I also have the question with regard to is the software being used in a way that it complies with the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission? You see, in the year 2004, Glendale was fined for taking trading activities that were similar to those of Enron, and in fact, they were fined by the State Attorney General, or at least the city agreed to a penalty for basically trading in a similar way as Enron and Coral Energy. In fact, the city was in partnership with them. So I think that there's a time when this software and these activities come in that the city should investigate it. Back in 2003, the city had about $170 million, the Glendale Water and Power, on the monies that is earned from that trading activity. So today I want to ask, is it effective? Are we using the software in a way that is more competitive than other cities? How do we evaluate both the software and the people who run it? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Someone want to make a motion?
So moved.
Well, we did, just for the record, we did ask for a report regarding the trading activities, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. So we should be getting that report, right?
Yes, you asked for that last week, and that's in the queue, and we'll be coming to you.
Okay. And do you want to respond in terms of the penalties that we were assessed back in 2004? I know we were not. Yeah, I know, but just for the public's information, so they're not left.
Madam Mayor, members of council, Steve Linz, Chief Assistant General Manager of GWP. We were involved with everybody in the market with some litigation regarding trading that happened during the energy crisis. We settled all of that for $25,000. There was no penalty. It's more of a matter of trying to put that behind us.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Council members Menuchyan,
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Quintero?
Yes.
Weaver?
Aye.
Mayor Friedman?
Yes. Next item, please.
Next item on the agenda is oral communications, but this will be the 3-minute portion reserved for community announcements for community events. The full 5-minute portion will be heard at the conclusion of all city business.
I have one card. It's for 3 people: Peter Roosh, Sonia Montaggio, and Victoria Laskin. And you're all at home in for a treat when you see them.
Hear ye! Hear ye! Hear ye! Good evening, Madam Mayor Friedman and honorable councilmen. My name is Peter Roosh, the unofficial town crier of the city of Glendale. Introducing the Cryettes. On my left, Sonia Montahano. On my right, Victoria Laskin. 2 ladies who up to this very moment are decidedly unhappy. However, in order to put a smile on their faces, and I'd like to announce to everyone in this room and to everyone watching at home that in the spirit of the season, the Glendale Historical Society would like to again present our annual candlelight tours.
They will be held on the next 2 consecutive Saturdays, December 10th and December 17th, respectively, between the hours of 6:30 and 8:30 p.m. at the Doctor's House Museum, our favorite Victorian gem in the northwest corner of Brand Park.
There will be self-guided tours available, and the beautiful Victorian kerosene lamps recently donated from the private collection of Craig Lighthizer will be illuminated. We will have live music from the performances from the musical Pasadena Conservatory of Music. Refreshments and homemade sweets will also be at hand.
Guides will be available to answer questions, and a donation of $5 will be gratefully received. Free admission to all members of the Glendale Historical Society.
Please bring the whole family to celebrate the holidays in fully decorated Victorian style.
No reservations are required, so rain or shine, please come and join us in the holiday fun. See you at the Doctor's House for the candlelight tours.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
It's not often our announcements get applause, but we certainly warrant the applause. And for those of you who have never been to the Doctor's House tours, they are a wonderful, fun event and really great for kids who learn about what our history was like and just have a great time doing it. Thank you so much for coming. Next item, please.
Next item on the agenda under adoption of ordinances is 7A, ordinance amending the zoning code text with commercial hillside 35-foot height, offered on November 29, 2011 by Councilmember Quintero.
I'll move the item.
Second.
Hey, roll call.
Councilmembers Manukian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Quintero?
Yes.
Weaver?
Aye.
Mayor Friedman?
Yes. Next item.
7B is an ordinance amending the zoning map offered on November 29th, 2011 by Councilmember Quintero.
Now, I'm sorry. I was given cards and told that the people only wanted to speak if there was opposition. Is that correct? So nobody wants to speak, right? Okay, I just wanted to be sure. Thanks. Okay, I'm sorry.
I thought for sure they would want to speak.
They don't know how we're going to vote yet, so how they know who's...
I took the chance.
I will move the item.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Councilmembers Manukian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Quintero?
Yes.
Weaver?
Aye.
Mayor Friedman?
Yes. Next item, please.
Next item is actually, thank you. Next item will be taken out of order. It's the hearing at 9A is General Manager of Glendale Water and Power regarding public auction of city-owned property located at 3445 Altour Avenue. 9A1 will be a motion accepting bid for sale and authorizing city attorney to open escrow, and 9A2 is a motion rejecting bids.
Okay.
With that, Madam Mayor, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, my name is Christine Godinez. I'm a Senior Assistant City Attorney.
And prior to commencing the auction, I'd like to just give you a very brief overview of the property and the procedures for conducting the auction. Tonight, we have 3 qualified bidders for the all-cash purchase of the city-owned property located at 3445 Altura Avenue, APN 5606-015-901. This property is an approximately 29,190 square foot lot improved with an old electrical substation building. The property is the site of the former Glendale Water and Power New York electrical substation, which was decommissioned in 2002. The city's land use element of the general plan designates the property as residentially zoned R1. As you may recall, on July 19th, the City Council declared the property to be surplus and directed staff to provide notice to the public for sale of the property. The original auction was scheduled for September 6th. However, it was taken off calendar due to a lack of bids. The City Council subsequently scheduled the auction for today, December 6th. Notices of the sale were published in the news press and posted as required by law. And the property is being sold on an as-is, where-is condition. The successful bidder will assume the risk of the property's quality and condition. Bidders are advised that there are 2 existing city-owned utility poles and a guy wire upon the property. One of the poles provides service to an adjacent property. The second pole provides service to the property that is being auctioned, 3445 Altura, and the guy wire stabilizes the pole on an adjacent property. The city will endeavor to relocate the pole serving the adjacent property and the guy wire prior to the close of escrow. But if the city is unable to do so, bidders are advised that the city will reserve an easement from the grant deed to reserve its right to maintain those poles upon the property. And so bidders should take that into account in making their bid this evening. There will be no set-off. The city makes no representation or express or imply that the property will be or can be rehabilitated by the buyer. The sale of the property is not intended to imply that development of the property is or would be approved under current zoning or building codes, and the buyer will be required to comply with all city codes and all applicable laws. The base bid for the properties is established at $300,000. Each bidder was required to pay a deposit of 10% of this amount, or $30,000, in order to qualify for the bidding. If any bid is being made by a licensed real estate broker or real estate salesperson, the bidder must so state at the time of making their bid. In that case, a 5% commission will be deducted from the bid amount and reflected in the final bid price. Once the highest bid obtainable is reached, exclusive of any real estate commission, the council will thereafter accept or reject the bid, and upon an affirmative vote of the council, and a 4/5 vote is required, the city clerk as auctioneer will declare the property to be sold to the bidder. And then upon completion of the public auction and approval by the city council, the city attorney will be authorized to open escrow to facilitate the sale of the property. The deposit made by the bidder will be applied to the purchase price, and all other deposits will be refunded. The bidder will have 5 business days after notification by the city clerk of acceptance of the bid to submit the balance of the purchase price. That 5-day limit can be extended by the city council upon good cause. If the successful bidder fails to submit the balance, the deposit will be forfeited. Once the successful bidder is qualified, the sale will be submitted to an escrow company to complete the necessary prerequisites. Escrow fees will be paid equally by the city and the successful bidder, and the expected escrow period is 45 days. Now I will turn it over to the city clerk and to the mayor to go ahead and begin the auction process.
Mr. City Clerk.
Madam Mayor, as this is a hearing, I'd like to ask you and the council to open it at this time.
Okay, I will open the public hearing.
And we will be performing this auction from the podium, which we will turn around, and I would like to ask to borrow, with your permission, your gavel.
Yes.
This is a first for me.
This is very exciting, having been through it once before. I think by now Artie should have learned that auctioneer lingo. I don't know what that's called.
Are you going to speak it the way they...
He's a pro now.
Is he?
I will speak it in whatever manner will get the property sold for the city. How's that? This auction is for the sale of the residential property at 3445 Altura Avenue in Glendale. The sale will be on an as-is, where-is basis. The successful bidder will assume the risk of the quality and condition of the property. Details of the sale, and this is some of it is repetition of what Ms. Godinez just stated. The city makes no representations, express or implied, that the property will be or can be developed. At such time or as the purchaser seeks to improve or demolish any improvements on the property, said purchaser shall be required to meet all city codes and other applicable laws and requirements in effect at the time. This is a cash payment sale. The successful bidder must pay the full amount of the sale price within 5 business days after the date and date that notification of acceptance of the bid has been mailed to the city clerk. Otherwise, the successful bidder's deposit will be forfeited. However, for good cause, the council may extend this time limitation. A bidder must state that if his or her bid is subject to a real estate broker or salesperson's commission. Madam Mayor and Council, we have indication that I believe we have 3 bidders today and none have indicated having a broker. They do not have brokers. This public auction is being conducted with the understanding that the city reserve the right to reject any and all bids for any reasons whatsoever. So now we will begin the bidding, but before I do, we have the bidders here present with us, and they have been issued yellow cards, and I ask that when you wish to bid, to raise that card clearly so it can be seen by myself and my staff, who will also be observing. We'll now begin the bidding. The initial bid amount is set at $300,000, and we have 3 qualified bidders who have submitted deposits to bid at that amount. Do I hear a bid? We can start the bidding at $350,000. Is there anyone wishing to bid at $350,000? Bidder number 2 for $350,000. Do I hear $360,000? Is there anyone for $360,000? Is there anyone at $355,000? $355,000. Going once. Bidder number 1 at $355,000. Is there a bid at $360,000? $360,000. Bidder number 2. Is there a bid for $365,000? $365,000. Going once. Going twice. Bidder number 3 at $365,000. Is there a bid for $370,000? $370,000. Going once. Bidder number 2 at $370,000. Is there a bid for $375,000? $375,000. Going once. Going twice. Bidder number 3 at $375,000. Is there a bid for $380,000? Bidder number 2 at $380,000. Is there a bid for $385,000? Bidder number 2 at $385,000. Again, is there a bid for $390,000? $390,000. Going once. $395,000. $395,000 by bidder number 2. Is there a bid for $400,000? Bid for $400,000. Bidder 2 has $395,000. $400,000. Going once. Going twice. Well, should I go down to the 10%? Okay, we are by law allowed to go down to the 10%, so I will now ask if there is a bid for $398,000. We will rise in increments of $3,000. The last bid by bidder number 2 was at $395,000. Is there a bid for $398,000? $398,000? Going bid is $395,000. Going once? Going twice? Sold.
Made a little money.
Up in the front. Green shirt right
Made a little money out of it.
Madam Mayor and Council, thank you.
Is that going to the general fund? Go ahead. Does that money go in the general fund?
Thank you.
Yasmin?
When you're ready, the next item, please. And I know we're taking these out of order.
GWP property.
Stays in the GWP account.
Yes.
Madam Mayor, we need a motion approving the sale with bidder number 2, whose name is
Bidder number 2 is Mr. Sarab Kosayan.
Arab Kasayan in the sum of $395,000.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Council members Manukian,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Friedman.
Yes. Okay, next item, please.
Next item, also taking the following items out of order, Madam Mayor and Council, is for the D is Director of Community Development regarding Mantra at 8D is Director of Community Development regarding Montrose Shopping Park and annual budget for calendar year.
No, it's 8E, not
8E, I'm sorry. 8E is Director of Community Development regarding Adams Square Merchants Association annual budget for calendar year 2012. E1 is a motion accepting the annual budget. Staff has asked me to also read 8F into the record, Director of Community Development regarding resolution of intention to levy and collect assessments in the Adams Square Business Improvement District, BID, through 2012. F1 is a resolution of intention.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, every year the Business Improvement District in Adams Square, you will hear in Montrose later, offers their budget for your approval. It is the first step in a two-step process. They will also be, the second item on here is the setting of a hearing for December 20th, and also your resolution of intention to assess the merchants in the Business Improvement District have elected to self-assess through their budget shows $20,800. This does include the $15,000 economic development that the redevelopment agency provides each year. Those funds are uncertain until the Supreme Court rules on the cases before them now. But the Merchants Association has included in their budget. They are looking for your approval of that budget and also the adoption of those resolutions. Members of the Merchants Association are here if you have questions, specific questions about their budget.
I'll move E1.
Second.
I have a question. I'd like to know who the current president, vice president, treasurer, et cetera,
Probably in the front row.
of the Adams Square Merchants Association.
Would somebody like to answer that question?
They're going to fight it out.
Mayor Friedman, members of the council, and staff. The current president is John Cianfreni. The vice president is Steve Brown, who has our WIC program. Alfred Ramirez is our treasurer. He can't be here tonight. He just became dean of the Garfield campus. And our secretary is Ron Baines from the Chevy Chase Baptist Church. I'm just on the board of directors.
And while you're up there, don't you have a very special event coming up this weekend that you want to mention?
Yes, we do. Thank you very much. We have, excuse me, Laura, you know how I feel at this point in time more than anybody. We have our Christmas event this Saturday, and I've got to tell you, we've been very strained on our budget. You know, we gave up our September movies because we wouldn't have enough to do both events, and we figured we would cater to more children at Christmas. Christmas time. You got to take over.
Yeah, we're kind of spending our money on this Christmas tree event rather than we canceled out the movies because we're running low, and so we're plodding along. I think we're going to make it.
What time?
So if you can just tell us the date and the times.
Excuse me, I can only listen to one woman at a time.
Sorry.
By the way, thank you very much, Laura. Okay. We got December 10th.
Who's the president again?
I'm sorry? Aren't you married?
Okay, sunk in. Finally sunk in.
You got me on that one.
Let's see. Okay, so we're going to be December 10th from 11 to 5 in the afternoon. You guys better dress warm if you're coming because it's going to be cold. Okay, no rain. The carnival rides are going to be tickets are going to be 50 cents each, or 12 for $5. We have face painting from 1 o'clock till 4. Santa arrives from 2 to 5. So you can bring your cameras and take your pictures with Santa.
What time is the tree lighting for?
Tree lighting will be probably at the first semblance of dark, and when everybody is frostbitten, we're going to light that tree.
And if you show up again, Laura, like you did last year?
I will be there.
Thank you very much.
I will be there. It's a wonderful event. Bring the kids. Great event for kids.
It was great. You all know Oliver from the motorcycle place.
Harley Davidson.
Harley Davidson. He's furnishing Santa, and he'll be on a motorcycle.
Great.
Okay. I'm getting nudged, so I have to make it quick.
Thank you for coming. I hope you feel better.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Wait a minute. I want to congratulate you all for the choice for the replacement for Jim Starbird. I think you made a wise choice, and it's very refreshing. And I'm getting nudged again, and it'll be very refreshing because, the old adage of a new broom sweeps clean. We'll wait and see. With your support, I think it'll be really good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item, please.
Madam Mayor, motion was made and seconded. We require a vote on item E1. Roll call. Council members Manukian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Quintero?
Yes.
Weaver?
Aye.
Mayor Friedman?
Yes, and we have the resolution as well.
I'll move F1.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Council members Manukian?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
Quintero?
Yes.
Weaver?
Aye.
Mayor Friedman?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, you directed me to read 8D into the record next. That is the Director of Community Development again regarding Montrose Shopping Park annual budget for calendar year 2012. D1 is motion accepting the annual budget.
Madam Mayor, much like Adams Square, Montrose annually submits their budget to you. That is what is before you today. Unlike Adams Square, because they were formed under a different law, Montrose does not have a management agreement before you, and so the item is just to look at their budget. It is for $360,000. It is outlined in Exhibit 1, I believe it is, the detail. Montrose has elected not to include the $15,000, so if that is available, that would be in addition to this. Representatives of Montrose Shopping Park are here as well.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council, either for staff?
I have a question.
Mr. Manukian?
The assessments for the original budget in 2011 was $124,000. The estimated final is about $47,000. And then proposed 2012 is $120,000. Why is there such a discrepancy in the original budget and the actual amount that is being collected?
Mr. Dawson?
May I take that one?
Of course.
Thank you.
You can just introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Friedman, members of City Council, City staff. Good evening. Dale Dawson, Executive Director for the Montrose Shopping Park Association. I know there are some points in the income portion of the budget which definitely need some explaining. One of them, Mr. Manukian, you just mentioned. And I have a little 4-page handout that I had printed up for you that will help to follow that. If I may just read from it, would that be okay? I have here that there are 3 line items under income that bear notation and are significant changes. One, as Mr. Lanzafame just mentioned, is the fact that we are not including monies from economic development due to the litigation between the state of California and redevelopment agencies, so we did take that out. The second one is the one that you just mentioned, Councilman Manukian. The projected assessment receipts for 2012 are based on the average of assessment receipts for the past 5 years of approximately $120,000. Note, however, as you just did, that the actual member assessments received this year totaled only $30,562, not the $124,000 budgeted. And here is my explanation. I have to give you a little history, and Mr. Manukian, you're in that history.
Okay.
Oh, yes. In 2005, there was a city ordinance passed, many of you will recall, that changed the way that the Montrose Shopping Park BID received assessments. That was put into effect in 2005. And among the many changes was the shifting of our calendar year to coincide our fiscal year with a calendar year. Prior to that, our assessments had been due and payable in October, and so we were always able to pay our Christmas bills in the fourth quarter because our assessments came in October. Once the ordinance was passed and our assessment due date was moved to the January after the close of the year, we had insufficient funds to manage our fourth quarter invoices for the holiday season. So when you were mayor, Mr. Manukian, at the time, you instituted a procedure whereby the MSBA could borrow from the January expected assessment funds, and that would enable us to get through our holiday activities. Now, every year since 2005, the MSBA has done that. We have borrowed somewhere in the neighborhood of about $100,000 annually against January receipts. This is the first year since then that the MSBA did not request to borrow those funds because there was no need to do so. What you're looking at when you see the $30,000 plus received assessments in 2011, those are actually delinquent penalty and interest payments from 2009-2010. None of the assessments from this year, 2011, have yet been processed, collected, or borrowed against.
So the actual assessments are approximately $120,000.
120 is an average of what comes in a
Right,
given year
right.
over
Okay.
a 5-year
All
period.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's what we use to forecast.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson.
It's my fault. That's the...
That's the take-home message.
I'll move the item.
Mr. Quintero, did you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to start with the special promotions that you're doing. Anything else? I mean, are there any other, now that you have quite a bit more money coming in from the market, are you thinking about sort of, I don't mean to imply that you need a branding or anything, but are you thinking about a larger sort of marketing program?
It's already begun, Councilman Quintero. In fact, we are branded, as you'll recall, a couple of years back, you all branded us as Glendale's official Old Town. So we branded before the city even began theirs. And so we're capitalizing as quickly as we can on the increase in income. We've already begun it this year. We took our film festival in August, which was our second annual, and took it way up in scope and in size, and it's growing like a weed, so our third annual will be even better. We boosted our Halloween Spooktacular, which has been a historically iconic event for us, by inviting the Montrose Verdugo City Chamber of Commerce to once again co-sponsor with us, and that became a huge, huge event. One other thing we were able to do is add a promotional coordinator to our staff because our events program went way up as a result of the increased income. And the first one that we have added that was brand new was the one that you, sir, participated in on November the 25th, which we termed White Friday. White Friday was our answer to Black Friday. We took White Friday and pumped 20 tons of ice, now snow, into the 2200 block of Honolulu Avenue. We rented some machines that simulated a snowfall as well. And we did a town and tree lighting ceremony where we lit not just the new tree that we purchased, but the whole town, and had carolers and Santa, and it was a wonderful evening. The community has embraced it so well that we're considering it a lock for next year. I don't think we'll ever get out of that one again. That was a really wonderful event. So event-wise, we did a number of things new this year, White Friday being one. Cable TV was another. We did a 30-second holiday commercial spot that I hope you've seen. It's on Time Warner Cable, running from Burbank to Pasadena. Really good scheduling. It's opposite Bravo Channel Food Network. Really good scheduling on that. So that was a plus. And in addition to that, one of our other goals, in and among all the increased income, was to get the MSBA to the point where it could conduct its business in a self-contained fiscal year so that we would not need to come to the city to borrow money. And we anticipated that taking quite a number of years to accomplish. As it turns out, we were able to do it this year. So we're now in a self-contained fiscal year mode. We will be adding additional events in 2012, local Thursdays, Saturday events and such. Most of our events have been tied to market dates because of the infrastructure that's already there, but we're going to layer on some things during the weekdays to increase the traffic flow into the town as best we can, and continue the campaign with cable, which was, again, was new to us this year. So yeah, we've already begun to apply everything that we've anticipated. Some of the events are yet to be determined. Traditionally, February has been our Founders Day event. What we'll do this year, and we still want you all to come, of course, is we're going to do a major market relaunch. It's the 99th birthday of Montrose, the town, this year in February, so we're going to have a birthday bash and celebrate that. And we've got a pretty full events calendar, but we are adding to it as a result and enhancing our existing events.
And in terms of the income, so you're pretty secure in your estimates on the harvest market? You'll be able to hit those target numbers?
I'm actually thinking the number's fairly conservative, but that's a good way to go rather than over-projecting. We're experiencing right now on good weather dates, if there's no inclement weather, we're averaging $3,000 per market. There will be 51 markets next year because Christmas and New Year's are Tuesday. Next year, they're moved further enough away from the weekend where we don't have to go dark. So the only dark day will be Easter Sunday. So 51 markets. We don't average it at 3 because there's a winter market that scales down a bit. But yeah, I'm very comfortable with that number. I think it's the least that we'll do.
And you've got a specific person that handles the receipts and so forth?
We do. That is our new promotional coordinator, yes.
So who's, I know there were some elections there on the board. Who's the current president, vice president, et cetera?
Well, the current president is still Alice Russell, and she sends her regrets. She had a medical issue this evening and would have loved to have been here. She is concluding her term this month. Our current vice president, just so you know, is the lady sitting over there, Mary Dawson, is our vice president. Our treasurer is seated here tonight, Maureen Palacios, and she is ending her term at the end of this month. And so we had 2 board openings coming up for our election, and quite a bit of excitement about the election this year. We had 5 candidates for 2 openings, which almost never happens. The 2 gentlemen who received the most votes and will take their seats on January 5th are Corey Grijalva, owner of Joselito's Mexican Restaurant, and also Andre Ortebegian, owner of the Copy Network business there that's been in town for 20 years. So we're getting some really good veterans. It sounds like new blood, but they've been around a while, so they know the town really well.
Any other questions?
No, but just great to see you're doing well, and congratulations on a job well done, and looking forward to another successful year.
Thank you for your support, everyone. Thank you.
Mr. Weaver, you had made a motion, I believe?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a
Second
roll
was
call?
from Councilmember
Mr. Menuchyan?
Menuchyan, thank you. Council members Menuchyan,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Friedman.
Yes. Going back into order, I believe the next item is
8A. 8A is Director of Human Resources and City Attorney regarding interim city manager appointment compensation. At 8A1 is resolution authorizing acting compensation for interim city manager at a rate of $15,219 per month.
You want to discuss this?
Want to report?
Sorry?
You want a report?
No, we don't need a report.
I'll move 8A1.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Council members Menuchyan,
Yes, but I think it's important for the community to know what it is, if we can just kind of say that.
Sure, I'd be happy to do it.
After the vote, I think
Okay,
I voted
okay.
already, then other
We can do it after the vote. I thought that
Yeah.
the ordinance itself was pretty self-explanatory, but we can certainly explain it some more.
Council members Menuchyan.
Yes.
Aye. Council member Najarian.
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Friedman.
Yes. So if you want to give a thumbnail version.
Sure. Madam Mayor, members of council, on November 15th, the council appointed Yasmin Beers, interim city manager for the period between December 3rd and January 2nd, 2012. And this particular resolution is appointing, giving an acting compensation, giving the salary of $15,219 $19 per month for their interim period, which is the top step for the assistant, and that's essentially what the
It's
resolution does.
$1,000 for the month.
$1,000.
It's not $15,000, right.
Well,
So
yeah,
it's-
right. It's $15,000 total.
$15,000 total.
So just to be clear, Ms. Beers is not getting city manager salary, she's getting the top step of assistant city manager.
That's
salary
correct.
just for the 1 month.
For 1 month. Mr. Ochoa takes over January the 3rd.
Right.
Let me say a well-deserved mini promotion and with full powers vested in her.
That's the scary part. Full powers.
She does a very good job for us, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Okay. Next item, please.
Next item at 8B is General Manager of Glendale Water and Power and Director of Information Services regarding Enterprise Service Bus software maintenance and training service to enable GWP Smart Grid and integration in real time of all city applications. B1 is motion authorizing execution of a professional services agreement with TIPCO Inc. in the amount of $641,840.
Does anybody have any questions before I go to the public? Okay, let me go to the public then. I have 2 cards, Herbert Milano to be followed by Mike Mohill.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council and City staff, my name is Herbert Milano. I came here before you to make the suggestion that the city take the opportunity to review the overall cumulative cost of a project for which sometimes you only get one element of it for your approval. If I understand correctly, the smart grid electrical portion, or well, that's a redundancy. The smart grid portion was clearly $56 million of that initiative that the city took 2.5 years ago, and there remains $9 million. And I want to state that the fact that the $9 million, if the city, the Glendale Water and Power, is successful in bringing this project under its original stated budget, that perhaps that money could be used for other purposes within the electrical utility, for capital improvements. I don't know if the city will be able to do that since it obtained funds from the federal government. The general rule, as I have seen in many city contracts, is that if there is a portion left over, or let's say like a buffer amount, 5% or 10%, it's almost always exhausted. The general rule is with the contractor is that if you're worth your salt, you basically will exhaust all the money that might be left. And I was going to encourage that the city do an evaluation with regard to each phase of this smart grid project and to see if these costs actually match to some degree the expected cost originally when the project was undertaken. I have a question with regard to the yearly consulting costs. Will there be a time when the yearly consulting costs will drop significantly, and if so, when? When will there be a complete handoff so that the city staff will be able to manage this particular software on its own or without much continual and regular involvement of the consulting firm? The last paragraph of this particular proposal states from the information services that there will be a need to integrate disparate applications and transactions that will grow exponentially. The word exponentially is rather ominous to me, and I think that we ought to know what it can mean in the future. How much will it grow in the future? Because I know that when I compare the financial statements of the city from year to year, we have had a significant increase in the IT costs for the city. And yet, when I ask for some very basic information that seems very rudimentary, I'm given significant obstacles to get that information. So we spend significant amount in information technology, but when we ask for some very basic, simple information, we're given either a significant cost for us to pay for it, or we're not giving the information. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mike Mohill is my last card on this item.
Evening, Mayor Friedman, council members, and the viewing public. My question tonight is, why do we continue funding the Smart Grid program? The jury's still out. Last month, nearly 200 people came to the Anti-Smart Meter Forum to learn about the hazards of the smart meters, the health issues, the security issues, and the privacy issues. We've seen many people come here week after week talking about their health, their heart pacemaker, palpitations, earrings, headaches. I've gotten several phone calls from several people from the public asking me, Mike, who can I contact? I don't feel good. The jury is still out, and why don't we err on caution? In January, the Public Utility Commission is going to be reviewing smart meters. Why are we spending money? You know, we have an issue of electromagnetic fields and constant inundation of our bodies as a possible cause of cancer, according to the World Health Organization. There are health issues on the cumulative effect on the body from electromagnetic fields, as well as radio frequency wave generated by smart meters. We choose to use our cell phones. On the other hand, once installed, smart meters operate 24/7 without our permission. The utility company, not the consumer, cannot control when and when we cannot use our appliances when they monitor us. Some of these smart meters have exploded. Ratepayers will be paying the price on this. In Europe, eventually all appliances will be connected to smart meters. When fully operational, the meters will change our behavior and the way we live. Smart meters act as a surveillance device as they monitor our behavior. Smart meters have the ability to generate an electromagnetic signal as to wirelessly tell the utility company how much energy we have. Civil liberties and freedom of choice are being trampled on with the installation of smart meters. Smart meters is a sinister invasion of our privacy and part of a Big Brother conspiracy. When are we going to stop funding the smart meters? The jury is still out, and this city council continues to fund it. What does it take? More people making phone calls to me? Thank you. My name is Mike Mohill.
And Mr. Mohill, just because you accept, you can sit down.
Sure.
Because you accept the World Health Organization as a source on this, their position paper on electromagnetic radiation says unequivocally that there's no evidence that there's any detrimental effect from wireless signals on human health. That's what their position paper actually states. Mr. Minuchin?
Yes, we have two bidders on this contract. One is higher than the other, and we're taking the higher one. Why are we taking the higher bidder or accepting the highest bid?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Ed Frega, Information Services Director. As we indicated in the report, the highest bidder did not offer us a fixed price, which was a requirement of this RFP.
Lowest bidder.
The highest bidder did not.
Okay. TIPCO?
I'm sorry.
Low bidder?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've got this mixed up with the one that's coming. There were, let's see here.
There was Oracle and TIPCO. Oracle was
Yes.
$531 and TIPCO was $641.
Yeah, the lower bidder did not offer us a fixed price.
Meaning?
Meaning that it could be any, that was a budgetary number.
Okay.
So, and there were a number of qualifications that we indicate in the report in terms of the TIBCO product being easier to use, having, when they did their demonstration, people could understand exactly how the product worked, whereas the Oracle one was much more complex and difficult to use. The city of Anaheim is themselves, for their smart grid project, using the same TIBCO product, and we went and visited them and we saw what they were doing, and it looked very, very good. So all of those factors went into the selection of TIBCO.
And what kind of a company is TIPCO? I haven't heard of it, so is it a national?
It's an international company,
okay.
actually. They're quite large.
Okay. All right, and the second issue is, as was mentioned, there's approximately $10 million left. How much more do we have to spend on these systems? How much? Is it fully implemented? Do we spend another 10, 20? Thank you, Mr. Frank.
We will come under budget. We are still, the remaining pieces, there's a few more information service pieces that Mr. Fraga will address. And the biggest single piece left at this point is the rollout of our in-home device.
Which device? I'm sorry.
That's the frame,
Okay.
the digital frame. That'll probably be the largest remaining expenditure. We expect to come under budget by, and right now this is an estimate, about $3 to $4 million.
And I had asked at one point, so just give me one moment, Mr. Quintero, I had asked that we have an accounting so the public understands how the project is going to recoup its investment over time. So I assume that's going to be coming forward to us.
Yes, in fact, that was part of the presentation that we had scheduled to make tonight, but as you know, we've deferred it till January so we can do a comprehensive presentation, including the opt-out.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. I have a number of questions. The first one is, are you now or have you ever worked for Big Brother, Mr. Steiger?
Depends how you define Big Brother, but as far as I know, I haven't, no.
No contacts with the CIA as far as you know? No one has approached you on...
No.
And are you able to monitor the people inside their homes? Are you able to know what they're doing inside their homes?
Not at all. And I would like to clarify that, because there is a misperception as to how the system works. This system works in what we call near real time. The data that we get is at least an hour old. So if we can somehow take data that's an hour old and try to figure out what light a customer put on, that would, then that's basically what's being perceived. It's not what we're doing at all. Interestingly, the customer themselves will have the real-time data. The meter will create the ability for a customer to actually have their data in real time, while we as a utility will have at least an hour's lag. So it's a bit different.
I have a question about those frames. Does everybody get one, or is it people who request them?
Well, at the present time, we're rolling out a pilot. We expect to roll out approximately 300 over the next month or two. We've already rolled out a few. I think, Yasmin, you have one? Hopefully it's working. And we do have a list of people that have requested them, and so we're going to fulfill that, and then we're going to try to take a representative sample of varying demographics throughout the city, and then continue the pilot that way. And then ultimately, any customer that wants one will have the
But it's
ability.
by request. I just want to be sure.
For right now.
I don't want to be sending gadgets, no matter how much they cost, to people if they don't really want them.
Oh, no. No, in fact, the alternative for customers is just to go online. That data will be available online, too.
On the Internet?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, back to the issue of Big Brother. Let me just say that, you just heard from Mr. Steiger, who is in no way affiliated with any other government agency other than Glendale Water and Power, and to the best of my knowledge has only worked for water and power organizations in the past. But there's obviously much more surveillance, if you want to call it that, much more monitoring every time you go online. And it's done by private companies, et cetera, et cetera. So this concept that somehow this is part of anyway, I think people have gotten the message. But what is important is that these smart meters are part of a much larger and much more extensive smart grid that over time will help Water and Power, GWP, and help every utility in the United States to better utilize energy. So I think it's a very positive thing.
Mayor, move 8B1.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Council members Manukian?
No.
Najarian?
Yes.
Quintero?
Yes.
Weaver?
Aye.
Mayor Friedman?
Yes. Next item, please.
8C is General Manager of Glendale Water and Power and Director of Information Services regarding outage management system and distribution management system software, maintenance, and product installation services to enable Glendale Water and Power to continue its program to improve the reliability of service through distribution automation. C1 is motion authorizing execution of professional services agreement with FSIS Advanced Control Systems in an amount of $403,101.
Cards?
No cards.
Move 8C1.
Second.
Any roll call?
Council members: Manukian,
No.
Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Friedman.
Yes. Next item.
Next item at 8G is Director of Public Works regarding City of Glendale Zero Waste Action Plan. G1 is resolution establishing a zero waste goal. At G2 is resolution supporting extended producer responsibility.
Mr. Zern.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I know it's been a long night, so let me see if I can summarize this. We had presentations of varying degrees, but I'll see if I can do this as quickly as
And
possible.
didn't we just have a presentation on this recently?
Madam Mayor, I think I have mentioned it several times in other presentations, waiting for the moment when I'd bring it to you, but it's funny you should say that because it's almost anticlimactic. It really is.
I feel like I've seen this presentation.
It's more or less a formality because I'm sure if you read the executive summary, you'll see the component parts of this plan, many of which have already been before you. Such as the plastic bag ordinance, the waste conversion technology project. Other parts of it have recently come, there has been legislation that's come down from Sacramento signed by the governor in the way of mandatory recycling for commercial and multifamily, for increasing our mandated waste diversion from the current 50% to 75%. Those are key components in the plan, but in many respects we're already pursuing those. So what this is in a nutshell is a long-term, broad-based plan for us to work towards the ultimate elimination of disposal of waste in landfills. Now that's a pretty hefty goal. It's not going to something that's going to occur in 10 years or 20 years and maybe even 30 years. But this, as I said, is a broad-based goal action plan that allows us to push forward and begin to put in place programs that will allow us to get to the point that we want to be. Again, broad-based. As we get to individual programs and projects, we bring those to you and discuss those specifically, as we did with the plastic bag ordinance, as we did and as we will continue to talk to you about the waste conversion technology, which includes the anaerobic digestion component that you see. We will likely be back to you to talk about some various aspects of mandatory recycling. Earlier tonight, you approved a consent item which allows us to complete the expansion of our recycling center and turn that, hopefully, into what we call a full-service materials recovery facility, which will allow us to further increase the amount of recyclable materials. It will greatly help us in our commercial recycling and multifamily recycling. It also gives us an opportunity to have a pre-sorting location before we have any deposits to what may in the future, and I'm very hopeful, a waste conversion program. So all of those things are laid out into this plan, along with a component, the second resolution, which is to support, or really the continued support by the city in encouraging legislation and regulations that look for more environmentally sensitive types of manufacture, products that are less toxic, more recyclable, more reusable, and so that will be our continued support through again, supporting legislation and regulations. So with that's a very brief, broad overview, and I'd be happy to answer questions. We have staff and outside assistance here as well to help answer any questions if you so desire.
Are there questions before I go to the public? Okay, seeing none, I have one card, Roberta Medford.
Hi, Mayor, Council, staff, viewers. My name is Roberta Medford. I live in Montrose. I'm delighted to hear that it's practically a done deal, but I just thought I'd come just in case, not knowing, to express my enthusiastic support for the goal of zero waste. I know it's a big goal, and I know it's a long way off, but you got to start somewhere. In the meantime, I hope, and I know that this sentiment is shared in Public Works and here in the council, that we continue to make progress with what we are doing as far as recycling. I'm not up on the technicalities. I'm just an obsessive-compulsive household recycler. But there's still those two plastics that other cities, including the city of Glendale, recycles that Glendale does not. And I know one is styrofoam and the other is another kind of rigid plastic. I believe it's 3 and 6. So, on the way to this lofty goal, I hope we can bring it down to the local level and do something about those kinds of plastics so that we can recycle them. If we can't recycle them, why are we allowing them to be used in Glendale? Especially with styrofoam, I know it really bugs me. And someone at Public Works, or maybe it was Integrated Waste, told me it's a poison when it's manufactured. It is a problem recycling it. It doesn't really recycle well, and then it's a poison again when it's put in the waste stream. So why are we using styrofoam? Where we most often see it is in the ubiquitous clamshells, in our takeout, in our food. It's not even that useful. It's not even that good of a product. You can't put it in a regular oven, and you shouldn't put it in a microwave. I don't believe in conspiracies that people are out to get us, but it is not healthy to microwave your food in styrofoam. So again, why can't Glendale get rid of it? Other cities have. While we're working on that, here's my list of the delicious food purveyors in Montrose that do not even roll their eyes anymore when I bring in my own containers, Corningware, glass, and take home my takeout and my catering products in my own dishes that can be reused and washed over and over again. So please patronize these people and try to avoid styrofoam while we're working on getting rid of it in Glendale. Cibo Thai, Frank's Famous, La Cabanita, Cordones, and I'm sure many other places will be happy for you to bring your dishes in so that you don't have to take home styrofoam. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any comments?
I'll move HE 1 and 2.
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Council members: Manukian.
Yes.
Najarian.
Yes.
Quintero.
Yes.
Weaver.
Aye.
No.
Aye. Yes.
Yes. Mayor Friedman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, next item.
I have to leave.
All right, next item, it would be return to oral communications. This is the 5-minute portion. Discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. Council may question or respond to the speaker, but there'll be no debate or decision. City manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for investigation and a report.
Okay, my first card is Mona Montgomery, to be followed by Vladimir with no last name given.
Good evening, council members. I am Mona Montgomery, and you can start the show and I'll comment on it. The discussion is, why are we raising the water rates when we should be locating the bad guys who took the money? The law says under the Glendale Charter that there's supposed to be a revenue fund which is supposed to pay for the day-to-day expenses of the water and power. Anything in excess of that goes for capital improvements, which is what we use for betterment, replacement, and extensions of the plants and equipment, and anything in excess of that goes to the surplus fund of the GWP. Council may appropriate some of the money from that surplus fund if they decide to, but they have to vote on it during the year. And at the end of the year, what's supposed to happen is that 25% of the operating revenues is supposed to go into Glendale General Fund unless there's not enough money to take care of these other items, in which case the council may vote, and must vote actually, not to allow that 25% to go into the general fund. What has happened is that through what looks to me like intentional misinterpretation of this law, prior city councils and whatever Starboard used to be, decided that that means I must take the 25% and put it into the Glendale Surplus Fund without regard to the welfare of the GWP, which has left us with two empty buckets, capital expenditures and the Emergency Surplus Fund, which now the City Council is thinking of raising the bills, the charges of the DWP bills that come to your house in order to refill those two empty buckets. When in fact what should be done is to, well, what needs to be done is to take money from the general fund, even though I know it's hard to do, and replace those buckets, because that's where it was taken from, and it should not have been taken from. So it's kind of hard on a guy that, steals from the guy next door to be told, I'm sorry, you may have eaten all the money, you may have spent all the money you stole, but you still have to pay it back. And that's just the law of what happens when somebody misappropriates funds. So I just wanted to make that point, that the law is a little difficult to understand, but I can see why the flim-flam man got away with this, because it is written in somewhat archaic language. It says 25% of the operating revenues of the Department of Water and Power, excluding receipts, I'll pass that, shall be transferred from said Glendale Water and Power Surplus Fund to the General Reserve Fund, provided, and this is what has gone right past the City Council people, provided that the Council may annually, at or before the time for adopting the general budget for the ensuing fiscal year, may reduce said amount or wholly waive such transfer if, in its opinion, such reduction or waiver is necessary to ensure the sound financial position of said Department of Water and Power, and it shall be deemed so by resolution. So you see, it's somewhat archaic, but it says clearly you can't take the money out of the surplus fund if it's going to harm the sound financial position of GWP. So this has been done. This needs to be undone. And since I have a couple of seconds, I'd like to point out that we had another example of a flim-flam man here today. I do believe that guy that came from Water and Power said, no, we can't monitor anybody's actions. We don't know when the light went on or off. We don't know if they're toasting. We don't know if they're making marijuana grows. We don't even get the information for a whole hour after it's processed by our company. The homeowner can take a look and see in real time what's going on in his home. Did you hear that he admitted that, yes, they are getting every data byte of information from every one of our appliances, but it doesn't get processed for an hour. And we know very well that they're selling this information to police, who are using it to find marijuana growers. They are selling it to certain companies, corporations that can use the money to decide who might be a good buyer for their refrigerators. He admitted it. You should have heard it. If you didn't, you can thank me for pointing it out. Thank you.
Please, Mr. Mohill. Vladimir, to be followed by Herbert Milano.
Is there a gentleman here by the name of Vladimir who would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Vladimir. I have to talk about rent my building. We are living, address is 555 East Palmer Avenue. The building has 21 units where is the living senior citizens. Before one person pay $650 a month. The two persons pay $680 a month. Now, a couple of days ago, we get the letter from manager. They say we have to pay, one person have to pay $680 and two persons have to pay $723, more than that. The reason what I think so is too much for rent for senior citizens because we have getting just as SSI. Please, you have to help me. Thank you very much. We have a letter I give you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If there's any comments, they'll be at the end of this portion of communications.
Here.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Herbert Milano, to be followed by Mike Mohill.
Mayor Friedman, members of the City Council. It is my expectation that by next week, sorry, I wanted to get your attention, Ms. Friedman, that's why I stopped. It is my expectation by next week you will be receiving the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. As of today, the only financial report that is comprehensive for the City of Glendale is the one for June 30th of last year. Year to year, the city takes approximately 6 months to complete the CAFR. And during that period of time, during those 6 months between June and the end of the year, the City Council makes significant decisions that are multi-year contractual agreements. You have proposal into long-term debt, and oftentimes the issuing of bonds are proposed. And the city enters into employee agreements that are impacting the finances of the city fairly significantly. And it is my contention that the public ought to know how those decisions are going to impact the city's finances. Because as we have seen in years past, whenever the general fund is impacted, the city has gone to the Glendale Water and Power and make transfers, oftentimes for monies necessary for the proper maintenance of the city's infrastructure for water and power. I think that it is reasonable to expect, just like it is reasonable to expect for any company and organization in the United States, to receive financial statements within 3 months after the end of the year, and that no major decisions be made until that is released. In 1998, on the very first year that Jim Starbird came in, the city actually completed its financial statements in 3 months. In 3 months, and it is doable. It is my belief that the city should be getting continual financial reports every month, and that the public be apprised of the financial state of the city. Now, back in May, as you were grappling with a nearly $20 million shortage, there was a significantly long list of all of the significant increases in the fees for all services throughout the city. But one of the things that really took my attention was the actual discontinuing of the $200,000 that was in the past supported the senior meals to those individuals who were disabled and unable to move out of their homes. And basically, the city took $200,000 away from that very basic service in order to be able to support the general fund. And if my understanding is correct with regard to what transpired last week, or the proposal to raise the salaries and pensions and other benefits for the Glendale Fire Department, if my calculations are correct, I think it is a significantly large increase. So I don't understand how you can increase the fees to children and residents who are in need, remove the assistance to some very needed families, and then, in the middle of the significant shortage that you yourselves have acknowledged, go out and basically increase and go into an MOU that it significantly increases the cost of the city for payroll and pensions and other benefits. And doing that, all of that, while the public does not have access to the financial reports to get a gauge as to how we're doing. So it is my suggestion, and it is my hope, that the one CPA here in the City Council, Councilman Manukin, can go forth and support an initiative that says that you will provide the city's comprehensive annual financial report within 3 months after the end of the year, so that the public can be apprised of all of the actions that you take and how it will impact the city in the long term. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike Mohill, and then Margaret Hammond's my last card.
Good evening, Mayor Friedman, council members, and the viewing public. My name is Mike Mohill. My mother grew up during the Great Depression in Boyle Heights. She was smart, skipping a couple of grades before her 16th birthday, but no college for her, as she, like many of her generation of women, settled on a life as a wife, mother, homemaker, and the glue that held the family together. Oh, Daddy was a carpenter with his proud union card. Mom was an avid reader, very astute when it came to politics and finance. She would always tell her children business was politics and politics was business. Follow the money trail, said Mom. Last Tuesday morning was the final straw when Mayor Friedman set out for another water increase and proposed another $60 million bond increase for public discussion in the early 9:30 a.m. time slot, a time of day to limit public influence rather than at 6 p.m. in the evening. Water rates would be raised incrementally to 15% by the year 2015. Of course, no mention was made of the fact that water rates had already been raised in 2007, 9%, 2008, 14%, 2009, 12%, 2010, 3.8%, even though Glendale residents during the drought period saved over 18%. This will be a 50.8% water increase rate by the year 2015. Arrogance was expressed by Councilman Dave Weaver. Quote, I think if things like these are too high, then you better just move out of this place if you can afford it, if you can find a better place. Mayor Friedman, she would consider passing another bond because she believes in sharing the cost with the next generation. Councilman Quintero has always been in favor of a tier rate structure, which would penalize homeowners with a larger parcel of land. Councilman Ara Najarian was the true politician when he said, I am torn. I am balancing between the impact of an additional cost on our residents for the water rate service, but also aware we have to improve our infrastructure for the water delivery. Only Councilman Rafi Minukian was against any rate increase for the bonds. Mr. Minukian also stated we should discuss the illegal transfer of $20 million from the GWP to the general fund. Except for Councilman Minukian, recently all our city council members have received thousands of dollars in campaign monies from our city unions, and in return they have promised the unions greater salary and pension concessions. With a professional staff, the unions seem always to come away better when negotiating. Why would any responsible person want to give city employees greater benefits than Social Security recipients? For example, why should a safety person working 30 years be able to receive a lifetime pension of over $100,000 at age 50? Today we have over 100 city employees enjoying $100,000 plus lifetime pensions, and 560 employees enjoying salaries of over $100,000 plus. About 15,000 residents have left our jewel city, but city payroll has not dropped proportionally. Why do we continue to have more chiefs than Indians? The amount of unfunded liabilities will continue to grow unless something drastic occurs. We will continue in the coming years to have less and less expected city services and more increases in city fees and taxes because our city council members are too weak to demand a reduced city payroll and not give into our city unions. These cozy relationships with council members, the city manager, and the senior staff have had with union monopolies, I understand to stretch the word union monopolies, have brought this financial crisis upon us today. Mom never went to college, but she certainly had plenty of common sense. As she says, son, just follow the money. Thank you. My name is Mike Mohill.
Margaret Hammond is my last card. Margaret, your pocketbook is glowing, just so you know. I don't know if there's something in there that's lit up that's not supposed to be. Okay.
I must have touched them.
I have a flashlight in my purse that sometimes lights up.
That's what it is. Yeah, I take one. Thank you. Sure. I'll look when I go back. Anyway, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, staff, and audience. My name is Margaret Hammond. First off, I want to congratulate, maybe it was Mr. Zern who stayed up all night polishing the floor down in the lobby, which is absolutely beautiful. Is that what you've been doing with your nights? Okay, it really is beautiful. Number two, I am going to give the 818-548-3916 number, but I don't know if I ought to be doing that. You've got enough bulky stuff to pick up without getting more advertising for that, right? All right. One of the main reasons I'm here is that Glendale Beautiful is the docents who are in charge of the Fiesta de las Luminarias at the historic Casa Adobe. It is going to be Friday evening, December the 9th from 5 to 8. The Crescenta Valley High School Choir will perform from 6:30 to 7:30. On Saturday, December the 10th from 5 to 8 p.m., our own Glendale High School Bell Choir will perform from 6:30 to 7:30. Saturday afternoon is going to be the Children's Piñata, and that will be from 2 to 4. And Horace Mann, Ballet Folklorico, will perform from 2:30 to 3 o'clock. All of these things involve our children from our schools, and of course, it's a wonderful place to go and see it all lit up with the bags on the roof and the walkways and so forth. And the people that do it, the volunteers, Jim Reicheld, Bruce Perry, I don't know if some of you knew his wife, they do the lighting up of the candles in the little bags and taking care of all of that. I happen to be the chair this year and of the open house, so we will be there to greet you, and there will be punch, free punch, tea, cookies, all homemade cookies, a whole lot of them, and many of our citizens from my other clubs will be there to help pour tea and the punch. Now, that same night, of course, on the Saturday is the Doctor's House tour, and you can go from one to the other just by going out from the, if you go first to the Adobe, go up Pacific to Kenneth, go along Kenneth, go up Grandview, and there you are at the Doctor's House. So you can do two things in one night. And it's really quite a contrast when you think about the Adobe was the Spanish heritage, and that the Doctor's House was the Anglo heritage, if that's how you want to put it. Kind of very different ways of celebrating Christmas. I think it's wonderful, and children just get such a kick out of it, asking questions about different things, as I've said before, how it was lit, where's the TVs, and all that sort of thing, where's the kitchen sinks, and the restrooms and so forth, where were they? If they weren't in the house, where are they? And so, of course, we go into that. Now, we invite you to come. Everybody's welcome. And these people that volunteer, many of them are well up in years, some of them older than me, if you can imagine, that are there to volunteer and to welcome you, and we would love to see you. Remember, these places belong, these are jewels of Glendale that belong to the people of Glendale. Now, about the winds, I have to say, many years ago, saving power, I got rid of my dryer. And because I put lines out off my deck, and that's it, and so I hang them out. But I forgot about the winds coming on Wednesday afternoon, and I had my washing on the line, including several pairs of, the English call them knickers. Well, the whole neighborhood ended up being strewn with all my laundry all over the neighborhood. One man going down the street ended up with it flying over his head, a pair of my knickers. And I thought, now, if they'd have landed on him, would I be up in court for assault or whatever? And anyway, I just have to tell you stories that, as I said, come out of trying to save power. And I still do it because it's much cheaper than having an electric dryer. And I don't know how much I've saved. In 30 years, I've saved a lot of money. Thank you.
Thank you. That's my last card. Any comments from council? Ms. Beers? Yes. Sorry.
Mr. Milano, I've asked for monthly financial statements. I still don't have them. We shouldn't get 3 months after the year, and we should be getting periodic financial statements to see where the operations are on a monthly basis. I would like to ask for the original CPA firm financial statements. If you're preparing the CAFR, that means you have the financial statements that were issued by the CPA firms. I would like to get them now as opposed to next week, because you have them in your possession, and those financial statements should have been provided to the council as soon as they were issued from the date that the audit letters were signed and the reports were received by the city. I just thought of it, and I think it's important for the council to get the original financial statements and not a large report with narration from management. I would like to get the original statements, which you should have in your possession. Mr. Zern, it's nice to see the entrance to City Hall completed, as Margaret mentioned. It looks very nice, and although it was due to be completed June 2010, but I guess it took longer because the tiles were ordered from somewhere where they delayed it. And I would like to know also, what was the address that the individuals...
We have the address.
Is it an affordable housing?
We were trying to figure that out, Mr. Mnuchin.
I think I know what it is. If you remember, there was a cut in the Section 8 stipend we were getting from HUD, and we as a council decided to, rather than cut the individuals a certain number off the Section 8 rolls, we were going to ask them to increase their component in their monthly...
Why don't we ask staff to come back to us, because that may or may not be what's happening. So we'll follow up.
We haven't started that yet.
Yeah,
so this
it's
just
not
might be that's later. Okay.
And I don't recall a 555 somewhere, anywhere, 555 affordable housing project.
We'll follow up on it.
But the rents still seem reasonable. So. That is all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Beers, and then I'm going to make a comment.
Okay. Mr. Mnuchin has asked for monthly financials, and we provided Mr. Mnuchin as well as the City Council a very macro version of monthly financials that you receive the one time. And finance staff is now currently working on a line item, which we will provide to you as well as the rest of the City Council. I've requested that, and that should be forthcoming. On an item that I believe Mr. Milano brought up regarding the MOU that was ratified last week between the city as well as the Glendale Firefighters Association, I think it's important to note that that MOU ratification will bring the city, will realize a $2 million to $2.5 million savings based on that model going into effect January 1st of 2012, whereby 21 firefighters will be reduced within our fire department with a model of basic life support. So I just wanted to mention that because I believe Mr. Milano said that there were increases that were significant to our fire personnel.
Thank you. Are there any comments before I make my comments? Well, I just can't help myself but bite a little bit. I wanted to respond a little bit to Ms. Montgomery because she made some accusations that I think bear an answer. One of them, the one that jumped out at me, and it kind of shows the mindset here, is that GWP is selling information from clients to private companies, which is absolutely untrue. I don't know whether she's mistaken or if she's just making it up, but it's absolutely untrue, and I would ask her, if she really believes that, where she gets this information from. Would that even be legal, Mr. Steiger? No, it wouldn't even be legal, and please have a seat, and it doesn't happen. But I'm going to make this analogy about this thing about privacy with smart meters, and it just came to me, and it may be a bad analogy, but it's like this. A lot of telephone services, landlines, have a tiered system. If you make calls during the day, they're one price. If you make calls in the evening, they're another price. If you make calls late at night, they're another price. I've never heard anybody say, that's a terrible system because I don't want the phone company to know when I'm making phone calls. You're buying a commodity from them the way you're buying a commodity from GWP. And they have every right to know when you're using that commodity. What these smart meters do is basically the same thing. They will allow people to set their appliances to run at times when the power is cheapest. But Ms. Montgomery doesn't want that. She doesn't want you as a consumer to have that ability because she, for whatever reason, believes that GWP, that when she buys a commodity from them, they shouldn't know that she's buying the commodity. And I don't understand that rationale. When I go to the gas station, the attendant knows that I'm buying a product from them. They know exactly what moment I'm buying it. When I use my credit card, the credit card company not only knows when I'm using my card, they know the exact merchant that I've gone to, and they know what product I've bought. But for some reason, the people that are opposed to smart meters think that buying from a utility somehow is a completely different world. Well, it's not. It's a lot more private than all of those other merchants who, by the way, do sell your information, a lot of them. GWP cannot and does not do that. And this whole exercise is so the consumer can save money and so we can have a smarter grid. And I don't think that it's right for people based on fictions and fantasies and paranoia to say that you, the consumer, shouldn't be allowed to use this new type of system to save yourself money. So that's my comment for the night. Okay, are there any other comments? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
We adjourn.
We are adjourned.